Welcome back to the Humble Marksman channel, the only gun channel on the internet dripping with that BDE. That's right, Big Dad Energy! You've heard of Murphy's Law, what can go wrong will go wrong, but have you heard of Cole's Law? It's thinly sliced cabbage. Yeah. I'm David, and this is the Trijicon RMRcc. Now, this is actually the second time that I've made this video, and the first time I made this video and actually recorded it, I just never edited it, was hit you guys with a Big Dad Energy joke, but I'm honestly too annoyed right now to do this because this is a $400 paperweight that I just bought because I didn't do my due diligence on the internet. I thought that this was the dumbest optic that anyone had ever made because I bought it to put on my 6-hour P365X macro when I got that last summer, only to find out that this doesn't fit basically any of those RMSc cuts. Trijicon had to go their own special way and develop their own compact optic footprint, and for the life of me, the longest time I thought it was a dumb footprint, and I still think it is kind of dumb, but I understand the purpose of it now, and it's for these thin slide guns like the Platypus that I have here from Stealth Arms. 1911, 2011 style guns that have, you know, thinner slides need a thinner optic because the regular RMR is so wide that it overhangs on either side. So they made a skinnier version that's as wide as a traditional 2011 slide and is basically otherwise the exact same as the RMR Type 2. So now that I have experience with the optic on an actual gun, technically you could say I built a gun around this optic because when Stealth Arms launched the Platypus, they had basically 3 optic choices, and I already had an RMRcc, so I was like, well, you know what? Let's put that sucker to use. So here we are. Now that I've used it, do I still think it's dumb? Yes, I do think it's a dumb design, but I still think it's actually a pretty good optic. A quick rundown of the features on the RMRcc. The appearance of the dot is actually pretty crisp, and the glass is not as bluey as my RMR Type 2, so that's all to the good. There is a little bit of distortion in the glass, a little magnification fisheye effect. If you look at something and kind of twirl it around on it, you'll see the edges of it distort as you kind of move it around. Not the biggest deal on a dot for a pistol because we don't shoot at long distances, but if you were putting this on like a rifle, although I don't know why you would, you may have issues with the dot being at the edge of the glass. The emitter on the dot is okay. This is the 6.5 MOA version of the optic, which is, in my opinion, the better optic reticle. I have an astigmatism. With a astigmatism corrected, it's a nice crisp circle, but when I am uncorrected, because I don't have my contacts in right now, I can look at it and see that there are, you know, a slight arm to the top and a slight arm to the right, but the dot is still crisp enough where I could shoot with this if I had to, and I wouldn't feel like I was, you know, confused about my point of aim or anything like that. So the dot and glass and emitter combo is all to the good. I think it's very well set up. One thing, and I don't know if this is new to the RMRcc, but it feels like there's a bit of a lip on the back side of the hood because this RMR gathers a lot more shirt length than my other full-size RMR, which I don't really understand, but one time when I took the gun out of the holster to put it in the safe at the end of the day, there was so much shirt length on the back of the lens that like I could barely see through it. Like I have no clue what was going on that day, but at the same time, this one seems to just gather more. I don't know, maybe it's because the window is smaller or whatever. This does seem to get the most shirt length of any of the optics that I've bothered carrying. Now, telling you about the features so you don't have to read that pesky manual like I did. So out of the box, the thing has 2 modes. It's going to start automatically auto adjusting. So if you dial in a brightness setting, you press, you know, the brightness up or down, it's going to immediately keep that brightness for 16.5 hours, which is actually fairly brilliant in how I use the sight. When I'm carrying the optic, I'll take it out of the safe, I'll dial in the brightness that I want for that day, and I'll go on about my day. Since it's 16.5 hours, that's roughly the time when you go to sleep. So it lets it auto adjust when it's in the safe at night and preserves battery life, and so that's all to the good. Since it takes the 2032 batteries, that is maximum battery life that you can get out of these styles of optics. But if you don't want to let it auto adjust, and I'd recommend that you not because it's fairly useless, then you can actually lock in your own adjustment. But if you're a glutton for punishment and you only want to use auto adjustment, you can absolutely do that as well. There is a lockout mode where if you turn the optic off, and the way you turn it off is you press both of the brightness adjustments, hold it down for 3 seconds, that will turn it off. And you turn on the optic the same way, you press and hold both those buttons for 3 seconds, it'll turn back on, and then the optic will only auto adjust. If you decide you don't like that, so you can turn it off again by pressing and holding both buttons for 3 seconds, use one button to turn it back on and it'll be back in default mode. If you want to lock in your adjustment so that it stays manually adjusted all the time, the way that you do that is you put it on whatever setting you want and you press and hold one of the adjustment buttons for 3 seconds until the dot flashes, and now you're in lock-in mode. You've locked in the setting that you want. Now, the problem with that is that it's going to stay on that setting until the battery dies. So if you have a really high brightness, you're going to compromise the battery life of your optic a bunch. Obviously, there's applications where that makes sense, and obviously there's applications where you can just let it auto adjust while it's in the safe and dial in the brightness when you leave. Now, just like the other RMRs, this one changes batteries on the bottom of the optic, which means when that time does come, you will have to take the screws out, take the battery off the bottom, put a new one on, and torque it back down. They recommend 18 inch-pounds in the manual, which I only used 15 in blue Loctite, so I'm going to be torquing it down. And if you don't have Fix-It sticks, guys, get some Fix-It sticks. If you're playing the pistol optics games, Fix-It sticks, I can't even say that. Fix-It sticks are fantastic for that. It is my favorite tool that I have. Father's Day's in a little bit. If you've got somebody in your life who does a lot of like inch-pound torquing, well, that sounds weird, then this is really a great tool. It also works great in a range bag as just a flathead or Phillips head screwdriver. You got torque drivers for optics, bits on your belt, whatever it is. And it's got a torque setting on there as well. They're fantastic. They're expensive, but they're great. I've got a link in the description if you want to check them out, but I bought mine for Shields for like 100 bucks. I think they're selling for like 120 now. So there you go. There is something notable that is different. Now, if you look at the window size of it, you'd be like, it looks roughly like an RMR, and it's really not. The regular RMR window is a little bit taller and a good bit wider, where if you just look at it, you won't think it's much smaller, but if you actually look at them side by side, specifically in the product literature, they show you just how big the difference is, and it is appreciable. Like the regular RMRs are bigger, so people who think RMRs have small windows are gonna think these have absolutely tiny windows. And the other big difference is that the tick marks that they have for the adjustment, this does not have very tactile adjustments, but it does take a 9mm case rim, which is the best way to adjust it. Each of these tick marks is a value of 3 MOA. So if you're zeroing your pistol dot at 15 yards, which is a good distance to zero a pistol dot, with a regular, one click is 1 MOA type adjustment, you would be dialing in about 6 to 7 clicks to get 1 inch of adjustment. With this, you would be dialing in about half that. So there's that. This would take about 3 tick marks and you won't feel the clicks. It is visually looking at the ticks to get that inch to shift. And the other piece of this is price. Now, I bought this on sale last summer when they were running a promotion where there was a $100 rebate if you bought the darn thing. So I ended up paying, just north of about $300 for it, which I thought was a great deal. Now these suckers are selling for $470, which is a lot. $470 for an RMR. That just seems, I don't know, seems like too much to me, but that's what they're selling for. One of my studio lights just went out, which is fine because we're at the end of the video. So I appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.